I rise today to mourn the untimely deaths and celebrate the lives of two New Mexico heroes. One died just last week from injuries he sustained while serving his country in Afghanistan. The other was killed this past June in a helicopter crash after rescuing a stranded hiker lost on the Santa Fe Baldy Mountain. Both men served their countries with distinction and honor. Both were raised in families with a strong tradition of public service. Both said, "Choose me," when they were needed the most. Both paid the ultimate sacrifice. And these were their names: Army Sergeant First Class Kenneth Westbrook and New Mexico State Police Sergeant Andrew Tingwall. I'd like to tell you about them today. Sergeant Westbrook's career in the military began more than 20 years ago after he graduated from Shiprock High School in northwest New Mexico. He married his childhood sweetheart, Charlene. Along the way, they had 3 children, Zachary, Joshua, and Joseph. He served in the Persian Gulf War and did numerous other stints overseas in places like Korea and Germany. He was a proud member of the Navajo Nation. He loved to hunt and to fish and to build model military vehicles and was an expert chef and grill master. His brother says Kenneth was looking forward to retiring from the military and spending more time with his family when he got the call for one more tour of duty, this time to Afghanistan. As much as he cherished the idea of spending more time with his family, Kenneth knew what he had to do. "Of course I'll go," he said. Kenneth believed in the work being done in Afghanistan, his brother said. And if the Army needed him to complete that work, there was no question he would be there. Kenneth was gravely wounded on September 8th when his unit was attacked by insurgents in Afghanistan. He was quickly flown to Walter Reed Army Medical Center for treatment. That's where I met his wife Charlene and other members of his family. And that's where Sergeant Westbrook died from his injuries last week. Military families are a special group of people. Every day they face sacrifice and challenges the average person just can't imagine. And they do it with grace and strength and an unwavering belief in the country they call home. That's what I saw the day I visited Charlene and his 3 boys. I saw a strength made even more striking when you realize this tragedy wasn't their first. 4 years earlier, almost to the day, another Sergeant Westbrook died. His older brother, Sergeant Marshall Allen Westbrook, was killed in Iraq when an improvised explosive device detonated near his Humvee in Baghdad. The Westbrooks have given more than most families. Their tight-knit family has paid the ultimate sacrifice, and for the Westbrooks, it happened not once, but twice. As Americans, we often take for granted our freedoms, but we should never forget those whose sacrifice makes those freedoms possible. This story of New Mexican heroism doesn't end there. I'd also like to talk today about New Mexico State Police Sergeant Andrew Tingwall, who was killed last June in a helicopter accident after rescuing a stranded, lost hiker. Sergeant Tingwall is being honored on Friday with a posthumous introduction into the New Mexico Military Institute Alumni Association's Military Hall of Fame, which I helped nominate him for. His honor is for eminence in a chosen field, and like Sergeant Westbrook, Andy Tingwall's field was about service. Service to his community, service to his state, and service to his country. Known as Ting to his friends, Sergeant Tingwall graduated from the New Mexico Military Institute in Roswell in 1991 and joined the U.S. Marine Corps shortly after. During his military career, he became a jump-qualified reconnaissance Marine and served with Delta Company's 4th Reconnaissance Battalion. He continued his distinguished career as a New Mexico reservist from 1993 to 1995 when he joined the New Mexico State Police. Eventually, he became lead instructor for the Training and Recruiting Division of the New Mexico Law Enforcement Academy before joining the New Mexico State Police Aircraft Section, where he became a pilot. Sergeant Tingwall proved his merit there, serving as chief pilot of the unit, the youngest man to ever have that title. Sergeant Tingwall was known by his colleagues, friends, and family for his heroism and love of the sky, saving many lives his time with the state police. In 2008, he was celebrated as Officer of the Year by the New Mexico Sheriffs and Police Association and would have received a Medal of Valor in June. But for Sergeant Tingwall, that day would never come. Sergeant Tingwall was in the middle of saving the life of a stranded hiker on June 9th when tragedy struck. He and his spotter, Officer Wesley Cox, had just located the stranded hiker and were transporting her to safety when the helicopter they were riding in struck a mountainside and crashed. After the crash, as he had throughout his career, Sergeant Tingwall put the safety of others before his own. Despite being severely injured, he managed to remove the rescued hiker from the wreckage before they both died from their injuries. Sergeant Tingwall was just 36 years old. Duty, honor, country. 3 words you hear often when talking about those who commit themselves to a life of public service. Sergeants Westbrook and Tingwall personified those words, both in the way they lived their lives and in the way those lives ultimately ended. New Mexico is proud to honor these true American heroes. To their families, we say thank you and ask them to accept the thanks of a grateful state and a grateful nation. Thank you, Mr. President, and I note the absence of a quorum.